Welcome back. We're going to continue on with our practice of designing charts and how we do them. So I just wanted to go over a few tips of thinking about when we're creating our charts and why we want to do that. As you remember, we spoke about that it is a visual for people to understand our data. So there are reasons that we use a specific type of chart over another with that. And the first thing is when we're in our designing our charts and choosing our charts, we want to keep it simple. We don't want too many graphic elements. We want the attention to be on the data and not the pretty part of the chart, right? We want to keep our message important. What do we want the readers to know? And then we want to limit some things. We want to limit the series. And when I talk about the series, what are we doing? We want to make sure that we don't have more than 3 or 4 different data series in there. If we're in a line chart or a column chart. If we're doing a pie chart, we don't want more than 6 slices, just because it gets too small to really be representative of what we're looking for. We want to use grid lines moderately. Sometimes if we have too many grid lines, it makes the data obscure and it's really hard to read. We want to make sure that the text styles that we use, that we don't use too many. We want to be consistent if we have a lot of different charts with what we do. When we have a lot of different text styles, it will distract us from things. We want to choose our colors carefully. You want contrasting colors, but you don't want things that are just like totally horrible and gross looking, okay? So just remember that the goal of the written communication of using charts is simply so that we will go in there and we will put the information that we need in a format that makes it easier for everybody else to do. So the tasks that we're going to work on at the moment are these. We are going to work on formatting a slice of pie. Yes, we're going to cut a piece of pie. We're going to create a column chart. We're going to remove the legend from the chart, and then we're going to edit the axis scale and format some chart columns. So those are our tasks that we're going to work on in this little video. Alright, if you recall, we're going to begin working with our continue working with our fund database, or excuse me, spreadsheet. It's been a long day. And we'll go to our summary report where we've already created our nice little rounded pie. If we want to change a particular color on a slice of pie to maybe make it stand out or hide a little bit, there's a couple easy ways to do this. You want to come into your chart and then you want to choose the slice of pie that you want. So if we come in here and we choose this slice here, which slice shall we choose first? We'll find this one here that says other, this 4%. Let's choose that one. So we simply click on it and we come up to our home tab. We go in our font group and we find our little paint can that's the fill color. And let's change that to a yellow of our standard colors. And you see we've changed that simply from blue to a yellow. Let's look at this dark blue here and let's change it to a light blue. Same thing, go to our paint can, grab it, and choose a light blue color. So it makes it just a little bit more appealing as we go along. You'll notice that over here in our legend that the colors changed accordingly, that the other, which is now yellow, and our cash, which is now blue. So we can also separate our pie or explode our pie is what the term is. And what we do with that, reason for we would want to do that is that we want to highlight or emphasize one particular piece of pie. And we can do a single piece of pie. If we were talking about bonds, we would simply click on our bond piece and drag our pie out. Well, that took everything out, didn't it? So that was that piece. But if I just want my single piece of pie, I want to grab that single piece There we go. You see I have the 3 points just around the single piece. Now I can take that piece out. Does that make sense, or shall we do it again? We'll do it again. We'll explode the entire pie. We click in the center. We want to get all of the pieces done, right? Sometimes it plays nicely, sometimes it doesn't. We can grab a single piece. We could grab multiple pieces if we want to. So it's a lot of ways, you know, that we can do that. All right. So let's create a column chart. Let's go to the sectors worksheet, and we're going to select the range A3 to C15. Just like we did with our pie chart, we're going to go to the Insert tab, and we're going to go to the Charts group, and this time we want a column chart. So we're going to click on columns, and our choices of columns are here. I want you to find the clustered column, which is, if we look in our 2D section, that should be our first one. Yes, there we go. And that creates a nice little chart for us here too. Alright, let's go ahead and move it. Make sure it's selected, and we're going to move it. Where shall we move it to? Well, we want to move it over to that summary page, just like we put the other one. So grab it, Object in, Summary Report, and now we've moved it over. Just like we had to do before, we need to drag it down and move it and resize it. So grab it. Our target cell is A23. So we're going to grab our pie chart and get it down here to A23. Whoops. There we go. A23, and we need to make it a little bit smaller, so we want it to fill up until E37. Alright, that looks pretty good. You remember how to remove the legend? Well, just in case, we went to the Layout tab, and then in the labels we found our legend and we said none. That makes our little chart a little bit bigger, doesn't it? Let's put that legend back in there for a second. See how it's all squashed up? And if we take the legend out by clicking on none, turning off the legend, it stretches out all of our information. Alright, the next task that we're going to do is, if you notice, we have a vertical axis, meaning up and down, and we have a horizontal axis when we're looking at this type of chart. We can change the way these parts look and the things that they do. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to look at the, if you notice, we have our chart tools, and we're going to go to the Layout tab on there, and now we're going to find a new group called Axes, or Axes. And in this group we're going to click on the Axis button, and we have a choice of primary horizontal or primary vertical. So we want to point to the primary vertical axis, and here we have some different choices that we can have here as well. But what I want to do is I want to choose the More. So let's scroll down to More. And you'll see these are some options that we now have. If we go next to this maximum button, we can, or label, we can say fixed. We want it to be fixed, and we want it to be 0.025. That means that it'll always be in increments of 25%. Now if we go down here to the major unit, and we change it to be a fixed listing, and we make it 0.5, that means it's going to be, the tick marks are going to be at 5% intervals. So what we've done here is we've changed our axis to go from 0 to 25%. That's by setting our maximum at fixed, being a fixed number, and then we're saying the major unit, or what is our interval, is going to be 0.05, or in this case it becomes 5%. So that's what we would expect to see. Alright, we want to check a couple other things while we're here. Let's click on our number, and we want to make sure that, what do we have? We have percentages done, and do I really need these decimal places over here? I don't think so. So we'll change that to 0 and get rid of that, and now we can close it. Now we've just cleaned up that little axis chart just a little bit, and that looks, I think it looks much better because it's not as busy. Remember, the purpose of the chart is to give us some information but not get too busy for us. Alright, we're going to make sure some other stuff. Make sure we're going to still work on our vertical axis, so we want to make sure that it's selected. We know it's selected because it has what? It has the box around it. That's correct. Alright, so on our Home tab, we're going to change the font. So we're going to go over here to the Home tab, and we're going to change the font to 8 points because it doesn't need to be that large. And then we want to go down here to the category axis. That's this horizontal one. Just click somewhere so that we select it. You see, I keep doing this, don't I? There we go. Now I've got it all selected. So you just have to click around sometimes to get it where you want. We want to change that also to an 8-point font. And we've just done that. So we can click outside and look at our changes so far. That's a lot more readable for the information that we want. Now, if we want to chart and change these columns that we have, here's how we're going to do that. We're going to click on our chart, and we're going to go to the Chart Tools Layout tab. So here's our Chart Tools and our Layout tab, and we're going to look for something called Chart Elements Arrow, and that's in the Current Selection group. See this Current Selection group? Why do I not have that? That's a good question. What happens if I come here? Match to selection, chart arrow, and chart area. And now we have we have our arrow button right here, chart arrow. And we can say the series. Where do we have our series? New Century. And that gives us a really funny formula, doesn't it? Looks like a function. Well, in reality, that's what it is. Alright, now we want to click on our Format Selection button. And that's going to open us up a dialog box. And we'll move it over here to the side a little bit. Now, we can change different things in here with what we want to do. How far apart do we want things? Do we want them to overlap? Do we want them to be separated? Well, we're going to change our gap width to, you see right now it's 150%. We want it to be 50%. So just find the 50%. That's close. When you get close, then you can do it manually. And we want to also, you see how that did it? Just kind of put all the columns a little bit closer together, right? Alright, now let's click on the Fill button right here. And we want to use a gradient fill. So that gives us a gradually changing mix of the colors. We'll change gradient. And you can see how that changes as it goes up and down with that. We can click on the, what else can we do here? The direction of the fill. If you notice, our direction of our light to dark goes from bottom to top. We can change that with the direction button right here. So let's change that direction, and then we'll click find one that says linear right. There we go. in that. And now we'll hit close, and we'll click another cell. And that shows us what our changes are. So I think that's a good stopping point for the moment. So go ahead and save your work, and I will see you shortly.